morning! Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to make the first tutorial for you. I hope that you're interested in these earrings. So they're going to be these tiny, floral earrings. They are made with a bunch of different beads, so Czech beads and Japanese Miyuki beads. And they're this big. I can't get it through. Okay, got it. They're this size. So quite small. I guess you could wear them anywhere. You can really make these in any colors you like. I used brass supplies for these, but I have also used sterling silver before. These are pretty unicolor, but you can also do contrasting colors or an ombre design if you like. For today I'm going with white because then it doesn't take so long to take up the beads if I only have 2 colors and not 6 or 7. And first I'm going to show you the supplies and the beads that I use, and then we're going through the whole process. We've got brass findings with 8 mm in diameter, tiny brass jump rings 3 mm, some brass earring hooks. I used the Miyuki beading thread, which is 0.2 mm in diameter. Then some golden Miyuki Delica beads 11/0, some white lustered Miyuki Delica beads 11/0, 15/0 Miyuki rounds, which is a transparent lustered white, also in matte white, and then also 4 mm Czech beads, which are transparent white and lustered. I cut about an arm length of thread, which is probably about 60 to 70 centimeters, but a little less should also be enough. Then you tie a double knot. And you leave some tail thread so that we can tie and hide knots in the end. And then you thread your needle. We start making this earring by brick stitching 15 beads along this finding. If you don't have any experience with brick stitch, this won't be a problem because it's only a few stitches. Just try to follow along what I do and you'll be fine. You don't need to know any specifics about brick stitch. First you take up 2 golden Miyuki Delica beads, or any Delica bead of your chosen color, color 1 basically. And you push it down to the finding. We then pull the thread through the finding to the front, and we want these 2 beads sitting above the finding. And then on the front you go back through both of these beads and you pull tight. like so. And then you go up through the second bead. And then you want them sitting neatly beside each other. And now we continue with single beads. You take up another delica bead of your first color, push it down, go from the back to the front through the finding, and pull your thread from down to up through the bead. Don't push them together too closely, because then more beads than 15 will fit on this finding, and we only need 15 beads. So you should leave about 0.5 millimeter of space in between. And then we repeat this until we have 15 beads as a first row along this finding. Now we count the beads. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13. So this means that we have to fit another 2 beads on this finding without leaving too much space in between. So this means we need a little more space here, so that it doesn't get too irregular. Leave more space. And then we need to connect both these beads, both the last bead with the first bead. And we do this by pushing the needle through the first bead on the back and pull the thread through to the front. And back up through the first bead. And pull tight. So now we've got our first row of 15 beads. And for the second row we need 21 beads. Because as you can see, for each petal we need 3 beads. One for the inner 4mm bead and 2 beads for the outer 50 nose. And we have 7 petals, so this makes 21 beads in the second row. So we continue with brick stitch, but what we have to do now is we need to make use of these thread bridges, and we have to place on some of these thread bridges 2 beads so that there's enough space. So as before, you take up 2 delica beads of your second color, in my case that's white, and you pass through the second thread bridge, counting from the bead where your thread is coming out. You push through, you pull your thread through both these beads as before, you pull tight, and then you go up through the second bead again. And there you've got your first 2 beads of the second row. Now you don't want to leave any space in between, but you also don't want to place them too closely, because then the whole earring will get bumpy. So in my case I take the next thread bridge, go up through the bead and pull tight. And you can see it leans in the direction of the second bead. So there's enough space for us to place another bead right on this thread bridge, which I just used. So we place 2 on there. Now we take the next thread bridge, pull tight. It sits pretty close, but it doesn't lean too much. So there's not enough space for us to put another bead on there. So the next thread bridge will get 2 beads again. And then we continue until we have 21 beads. Don't forget to count. We don't need any less or any more than 21 beads. Now we count again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. So another 2 beads, and we have still plenty of space. And count again. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 1. So we've got 21 beads. Now we connect both the first and the last bead again of this row. This means we go from up to down through the first bead and back up through the last bead, so that we create a thread bridge which pulls both beads together. And now we've got the second row. So this means now it's time to add the petals. So in case for my white flowers, I usually take up 2 15/0 of the first color and 3 15/0 of the second color. But the important part here is that you need 5 15/0 on your needle. You also take up a 4mm bead. We want to go down through the bead beside the one you're coming out. Like so. So the thread comes out of the left bead and we go back down through the bead on the right hand side. And then we go back up through the bead on the right hand side again. You take up another 5 15/0 of your chosen colors, and now we want to go back down to the brass finding, so through the 4mm bead and both rows of 11/0 delica beads. So first I take the 4mm one and the second row, and then the next golden bead all the way down to the finding. And you pull tight. And then we go back up through the next golden bead and the next white bead. And now we continue. Again, you take up 5 15/0 of your chosen colors, another 4mm. You're coming out of this one with the thread, so this means we will take the next bead on the right hand side. We go back up through the next bead and the second row, take up 5 15/0 again and go back down all the way to the finding. And now you repeat this 5 more times. Now the first part of the petals is done. Next we need to add the tips so that we have full petals. This means we're going back up through both Miyuki Delica beads and also through all 5 15-0s. Always make sure that you're not skipping a bead, because depending on your bead color and your thread color, you would see this very clearly if the contrast is too high. And then we add 3 more 15-0s. In my case the color is white. And we go back down through all 5 15-0s on the other petal side. We're now coming out of the last 15-0 of this petal, and we go right back up through the next 5 15-0s. We add 3 15-0s again. Go back down. And repeat 5 times again. Now the petals are complete. You can now decide whether you want to have round petals like these, or whether you want to shape little tips like I made with mine. So they look slightly different, and to shape the tips we need to pass through all the petals again. So do whatever you like. I like them with tips, so if you want to have these two, just follow along. We are going up almost all the way, so now we are pulling the thread through the first 6 beads so that we can skip the middle one, which is at the tip of the petal. We skip this one and we go back down through the next 6 beads. Always make sure to not skip a bead along the way so that you won't see the thread. So now I've taken the first 4. What we do now is we pull the center 15-0 to the outside, pull the thread tight so that the thread is located inwards. You can also pull the bead again to make sure that the thread is on the right side of the bead. Then you continue all the way down of the petal, and then you go back up 6 15-ohs so that you're at the center again, and you skip that bead again. So you skip it, you pull the bead out, and then you pull your thread. And you've got the second tip. And you go back down through all 15-ohs. And then you do this another 5 times. And we're done. What we have to do now is tie knots and hide them, of course. So what I usually do is with my working thread that I will tie the first double knot right there at this position where I come out of the 15-oh. So that it's placed between the last 15-oh of that petal and the next Miyuki Delica bead of the second row. And another knot. Because the Miyuki Delica 11-oh is big enough so that you can hide a knot in there. So now we go down through that 11-oh. And you pull tight so that the knot is placed inside. Then we go up through the next Miyuki Delica bead, and what I do here is place a single knot, because you won't fit a double knot inside a 15-oh. And then you go all the way back up, skip the middle bead again, all the way down, and we place another double knot at the same place between a 15-oh and 11-oh and hide again. And then we go down to the finding, pull tight so that the knot is placed inside that 11-oh. And now the thread is secure, so you can cut it. The knots are now placed in these two petals, so we can't place there another knot. But we need another place to put a knot for our tail thread. So what we want to do is remember these two petals, and we can go either to this petal or this petal. So I think this one is closer. This means that we go back up through the golden 11-0 where we placed our very first double knot on the finding, back down through the next golden 11-0, back up, then we can go up this white bead, place a single knot, go back down, place a double knot, go back down to the finding, and we can cut it. You probably don't need this many knots, but I usually do it like this. So we go back up through the golden delica bead where we placed the first knot. Back down. And up. Up again. There we place a single knot. And then you go around the petal, place a double knot and go back down to the breast finding. You've seen it the first time, I guess you get it, so we will skip this part for now. Okay, so now it's done. Now we need to add the jump ring and also the earring hook. So you take two pliers and bend it open to the side. And now you place this jump ring at any of these center beads that are sticking out at the petal tips. Like so. And you close the jump ring again. You take an earring hook. You also bend it open to the side. Then we check which side is front and back. So at the back you will see all these tiny thread bridges along the breast finding. That's the back. We want the side without the thread bridges to be the front. So we place it like this. You close the wire. And there you have it. Now you've got your very own pair of flower earrings. Here they are, as a pair. I really hope that you enjoyed my tutorial and that you will return for the next one. I haven't planned yet what the next one will be, but I really want to post at least one a month. So one out of the 2 videos I at least want to post in a month will hopefully be a tutorial. And I'd be super happy if you return for those. So I'm done for today and you will see me in the next video. Goodbye.